Indeed I do. Look who we found, my favorite boy of them all. And so we were driving down the road looking for tracks. We didn't see anything. I decided to come back onto where we turned off just now with all of you, and we then found tracks crossing the road. And so I walked in here a little bit and I walked along and I didn't see much, and I was coming back towards the car, and then VM said to me, he's right there next to you. And so there's our boy just on top of a termite mound. How cool is this that we've managed to find him? It was perfect. We managed to find nice fresh tracks, and now he's just sitting on the top of a mound looking as beautiful as ever, and he is looking so big since I last saw him. I haven't seen Thamba in ages, so I'm super excited that we managed to catch up with him. What I think I might do is just go around the other side, because poor VM's shooting right into the sun. So no, you're right, VM. Cool. Okay, perfect. So I don't want to blind VM with the camera, but he says he's okay where he is, so we'll just stay here then for now. But he's obviously been resting up there, and he was just probably watching me as I walked around. I was no more than, I would say, 10 meters from where he was when he just decided to carry on sort of lying down, and VM then spotted him. All right, VM, well, unfortunately we are going to have to move now. It'll be nice if he stays on that mound a little bit later, because the sun behind him will be very, very nice just now. So if he just stays up there, it's going to be absolutely perfect. That'll be really, really good. Now, I believe a lot of you are saying yay and woohoo. Well, it's very, very cool to see our boy back on the Djuma side of things, because he's been a bit absent of late. He's been hanging around far too much to the south of us, and so it's really nice that he's this side. Vildi, is that okay? I know it's not fantastic because there's a lot of long grass there, but at least he's made his way back in this direction, and hopefully he's going to spend a number of days here. So it was an incredibly good spot from VM, him able to see it on top of the termite mound, and certainly if we hadn't spotted the tracks and stopped, we don't think we would have been able to find him. But he's looking very sleepy this afternoon. I'm sure he had a long day yesterday, because the last tracks that there were for Thamba were going south in the nets towards Double M boundary, and that was 2-3 days ago, and now he's all the way up here on the northern side of Djuma. So he's obviously had a fairly long walk, but I'm certainly not sad to see him, that's for sure. I'm glad that he's back in this side of the world. He is such a beautiful cat, and so hopefully he's going to stick around for the next couple of days, because I would love to spend a lot more time with him as he gets a little older, and so he starts to become, you know, getting pushed out by a lot of the other males. So he's going to probably spend less and less time here. So the time that we get now is all very valuable and certainly worth every minute. Now, hopefully, like I say, he does decide to wake up at some point, because he is starting to look sleepy, and I wouldn't be surprised if that head goes down, and if it does, we're going to have a bit of a struggle to actually see him through all of that grass. Although, there we go. Hello, boy. Look at how beautiful those eyes are, and he's still got his pink nose. Is the easiest way to identify Thamba, is very pink nose, and then these sort of light bluey green colored eyes. They're incredibly pretty eyes that he's got, and you find when the sun hits them, they actually change a little bit. They take on more of that sun tone because of how light they are. But he really is a stunning cat, and you can see how dark his markings are as well. Right, well, we'll sit with Thamba for most of the afternoon. We're certainly going to enjoy every minute that we can with him. And while we do that, let's go back across to Noel, who's got Shadow and Cub back together, and I believe they are starting to move about. Well, I'm sure Thandi can't be too far. I went past earlier, just checked on Ingwe Ali at those mud wallows, and also checked around where we had her and the cub yesterday afternoon. No sign of her, but I think she must be somewhere close by, maybe in that drainage line just to the north of where Shadow and Cub were, and maybe she'll come out now that it's starting to cool down a bit and there's a bit of a breeze blowing. Maybe she'll just start moving back towards her cub and do exactly what Shadow's done and try and reunite and make sure everybody is safe and everything is fine. So hopefully Noel will get lucky. You can see Thamba's very curious about something. All of a sudden he's kind of ducking his head down. Now, when I was walking past here a few minutes ago, I saw a couple scrub hares run away from me, and there was also baboons close by. So maybe he's managed to find some sort of, or managed to see a baboon, and he's just trying to duck down and hide low from them. It's also why he might have gone up onto the termite mound, just so he can get a better vantage point of what's going on around him. But he is seriously beautiful, and his head is getting massive now. He's starting to get that big bulky male head that Hosanna has already developed. Doesn't seem to have a dewlap just yet like Hosanna's got. Hosanna's starting to develop this little sort of dewlap that's coming down from the chin. He doesn't seem to have that characteristic just yet. So, Paula, you're wondering if the leopards' noses change color as they age. Well, it depends on the individuals. Normally in a situation you'll find that their noses go from pink to a more blackish color as they age, and little black spots start to develop on the nose as they get a little older. But in some leopards' case, they will stay pink. If you look at Shadow, who you've just seen now, her nose is still relatively pink, even though she's 11 years old. And you'll find that somebody like, I'm just trying to think, Tiani had a very dark nose even when she was quite young. So before she even left Salahesh, her nose was already quite dark and black. So it just depends on a lot of factors, but generally, yes, as they age, so the nose starts to get a little darker and lose that pink coloration. But look at that eye. You see why he's got these incredible dark markings just below his eye that make his eyes stand out a little bit more. So that dark marking with the lighter color is what sort of makes them pop out a little bit, and it really does have these striking looking face and striking markings. He's an incredibly beautiful cat, and it's interesting because I've got a number of friends that have worked in a number of other reserves that are all photographers, and every single one that's seen pictures of Thamba reckon that he's one of the best looking leopards that they've seen in their time. So he really is a treat to have around, and super glad that he is here. It was a very big surprise when I saw that he was on the dam cam this morning. I honestly didn't think we would see him on Djuma again, given that he spent so long to the south of us. I would actually like to know when the last time we had Thamba on Djuma was, because I know there's been a few sightings on Chitwa and that area, but the last time we had Thamba, as far as I know, on Djuma itself must have been close to September, somewhere there. So it just gives you an idea how long it's been since we've had him. And the last time he was up here must have been easily in August, somewhere around that time. So it's been a long period since he was in this particular section, and I wonder why he's come up here. I wonder if he didn't maybe meet up with quarantine or something, and that's why he's ended up kind of scuttling northwards. He's got a good opportunity because north of us at the moment there's very little going on. I haven't heard any updates on Djuma in quite some time to our north. We know that other new male is spending most of his time to the west, and then you've got a situation where quarantine's to the east, and Tingana seems to be focusing a bit more south. So there is a little bit of a gap in this area. This is Grumpy wondering how far a leopard would range from its birthplace, or particularly a male leopard. As far as it needs to, until it can find a safe place and a territory in order to be able to, carve out a place for it to stay healthy and to find food and water, and as well as females. But some of the leopards that I know of in this area have gone over 50 kilometers as the crow flies. So what's that in miles? It's between sort of about 28 miles, somewhere around there, as the crow flies, which is a long way. You must imagine how much zigzagging it's done to get to that area. There's probably other leopards in places where there's a much lower density that have probably moved bigger distances than that, but here for a leopard to move 50 kilometers is very far, given how dense it is here. They've had to kind of jostle through all of those other leopards to find a place, and that male leopard was actually called Matimba, and who was in some way related to Thamba, because, well, Matimba was the last son of Safari, who is the mother of Karula, and Karula is the mother of Tundi, and Tundi is the mother of Thamba. So it's all a bit convoluted, but that's how it goes. Where are you off to, Thamba? So he's turned around now and he's facing the other way. Viam will be very happy because Viam says he wants to shoot into the sun today. So I'm going to just turn Viam around and put him back on the other side. I wonder what he saw though. He just must have seen something very quickly, because he kind of shifted his head. Oh, Impala's right here. So there's impalas right up against the termite mound that he's busy watching. I don't know if he's going to hunt them. He doesn't really have any cover to go to where they are, but at the end of the day, they're not very far away at all. So there the impalas are, and there's little Thamba just watching them. So impalas in front. Hello, impalas. They're busy just kind of coming along, moving towards us, and then Thamba is just watching, but look at how regal he's looking. He's getting to be a very big boy. The size of his tracks are actually quite interesting too, because I was showing VM the tracks, and he's definitely got big paws. It looks almost like Tingana's tracks, so it's an interesting size comparison between him and Tingana. But you can see he's fixated on those impalas, so I think he's just sitting watching. These impalas have no idea he's even up on this mound. It's a nice bushy mound, there's got lots of grass around it, and his camouflage will be absolutely perfect for sitting here and waiting. Just walk in the road, you're wondering if it's cooler for a leopard to be up in a tree or on the ground. It depends on a lot of circumstances. Sometimes if it's been a bit of rain around, then the ground can have a much cooler feel than what up in a tree would have. It also depends on if there's a breeze. It depends on, whether that tree is in a nice big shady area or if there's direct sunlight onto the branches of the trees. So it's a lot of sort of factors that go into it. But you'll find that, and I'm sure as you've noticed over the last few days, is 99% of our sightings of leopard are not in trees. Most of them rest a lot on the ground itself, and that's because they can get in underneath a bush and guarantee themselves shade for much longer periods than lying on a tree. It's also a lot more comfortable for them. In a tree, they've kind of got to wrap their body around the tree and sit there and try and kind of hug the tree, whereas on the ground they can lie on each side, they can roll around, they can lie on their back, they can do all kinds of different things, and that means that they stay a lot more comfortable for longer on the ground than they would in a tree. It seems as though he's almost losing interest in these impalas. He's now not even looking at them. There we go, now he's turned back towards where they are. I wonder if he wants to hunt them. When he stood up here, he's not exactly full, so he could, I suppose, do with a meal, but we'll just have to wait and see and play it by ear and check whether or not he's going to try. These impalas that we have here are all males, so they're rather large animals and they're going to take a lot of bringing down. And as far as I know, I don't know if Thamba has yet to bring down a big male impala. I'm not 100% sure. I think he's brought down some young impalas, but don't know if he's brought down any really big impalas. Now you'll see that all of the impalas just popped up their head. I don't know if you noticed that. The reason why is there's a breeze that's blowing, and that breeze is coming from directly behind my back. So it's blowing from us to the impalas, and so I think when the breeze blows, they're picking up, hang on a second, something's around here that's foreign. Might just be us. I don't know if they're picking up leopard because they're not really kind of staring too much, but they're definitely noticing that something's going on. But let's see how close they'll end up feeding towards us. They seem as though they're completely relaxed about what's going on, and they really have no idea that there is imminent danger. Now let's see what Thamba's going to do. He seems as though he's going to get up and just try and position himself a little bit better. I don't want to move. We're in a great spot now, so we don't have to worry about moving. We're probably not going to get the best view of Thamba at this stage, but let's just sit and be patient and hope that these impalas start to worm their way a little bit closer to us, and then Thamba can come flying out of that bush. But at this stage, I think it's going to be a patience game from him and a patience game for us as we wait for the impalas to come a little bit closer. But look at him. He's definitely now getting a lot more interested than what he was just now. But he needs to stay where he is. Where he is better, because the mound that he is sitting on means that that breeze that's coming up is now going to be kind of blocked by that mound. So if he stays where he is, he's going to have a lot better sort of chance of hunting these impalas if they worm their way towards us. Now Aiden, who is 6 years old, hello Aiden, I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. You want to know what they like to eat. Well, leopards like anything. They have a very, very, very big amount of food items that they like, so they will go after things like these impalas that you see here, which are about the size of a deer, Aiden. They'll also hunt little insects, they will hunt birds, they will hunt all kinds of different things, little rabbits that we get here called scrub hares, and then any other antelope species or little sort of buck like this that are smaller than the impalas. So that's mostly what they go after. And then when they get really big, so he still has to grow a little bit, but when they get really big, then you'll find that they can even go after baby elephants, baby rhinos. So a leopard has a lot of different food to choose from. He's very, very lucky. He's not a picky eater like some of the other animals out here. But look, you see the impalas are slowly coming fairly close to us now. They're weaving their way a little bit. They're still too far out at this stage. I mean, they probably, I would say, maybe 40-50 meters from where Thamba is, which is still a long way. He needs them to get within sort of 5-10 meters from where he is before he's going to be able to explode out. The good thing is that they've just got no idea he's here, and so it's really a perfect situation for him. Kim, you're wondering if leopards hunt more by sight, sound, or smell? Dependent on what's going on. During the day like this, their eyesight will be hugely valuable, as will their sense of hearing. Yeah, at night, you will find that their sense of smell is often quite good, just to pick up where roughly those antelope could be, and then they use their sense of hearing a lot to pick up where they're walking. From there, now you see these impalas are running forward as though they've seen something, but it's not Thamba. Thamba's still on the mound where I am. No, they've, I think, just decided they're going to start moving. Now, let's watch what happens here, because they are running. It's not close enough for him to just come flying off the mound, but they are not far at all. So they, I would say, from where he's lying, flat on the termite mound, they may be 20 meters, not even 10 meters now. They're coming onto the sort of left side of this mound. And in fact, there's some that are going to walk straight towards the mound. Let's just sit nice and quietly and see what happens. Look, you can see he's down in the grass. Now, some of these impalas are walking straight towards us. You should start seeing little horns over the top of Thamba's head shortly. So there you can see them. Look, they're coming through fairly close to where he's sitting. Now let's see what happens here. So they haven't seen him. You see he's creeping around the mound. That snorting that you heard is just males fighting with each other, but it's almost blown his hunt because they've all run past him too far away. Had that not happened, he would have had a chance. You see he's popped his head up now. Oh, that was so close. He had a situation where all the males were coming right towards him, and then one started chasing another one, and they all panicked and ran the wrong way. I thought some of them might run straight towards him. That was very, very cool to see. Shame poor Thamba. He's a bit bewildered because they definitely didn't see him. It was nothing to do with them seeing him at all. They just were fighting with one another, and that caused a bit of panic in them all to run. And so now Thamba's looking around as if to say, where have you all gone? Why have you left me behind? I was still trying to hunt all of you. Look, you see, looking around. I wonder if he's going to start chasing after them. I think we're going to have to go around the mound, Vildy, otherwise we're not going to be able to see anything. It's very difficult because we're looking straight into the sun as well, so just trying to work out how I can get around. Go. Oof, that was very close. So where I'm parked right now, or where I'm driving now, is where the impalas ran. So this is how close they are. We're probably, I would say, maybe 10 to 15 meters from where Thamba was sitting. So it was very close. There's the mound right there. And you can see they would never have seen him on that mound had it not been for the fact that they started to chase each other. Poor Thamba might have got himself a nice little impala meal there. Anyway, it's all learning, part of the learning experience. He'll get it right eventually. There we go. Look at that focus. I don't think it's the end of the hunt either. I think he might be still focused on them. The impalas haven't gone far. They're still right here. So you might find that he's still going to try his luck, although I think that he's going to have to be a little bit more patient and wait for it to get a little darker before he actually starts to go after these guys. But how cool is that? That's one of the reasons why I love this leopard, is because he never stops. He's always busy. Tristan, you're wondering if Thamba's ever encountered people on foot. Well, he encountered somebody on foot about 10 minutes ago. So, well, he's now starting to fall back asleep again. So he's back to his original position from where we first started, and his eyes are getting heavy, and he's watching the impalas just disappear and move off down towards the dam. So those lucky impalas made a great escape, and now I think little Thamba's going to rest, and he might then head after those impalas a little bit later when it gets darker. But for now it's still time just to sort of bathe in the golden light that we're starting to get. It's going to be a very pretty sunrise just now. So Aiden, who's 6 years old, and Aiden now wants to know, how does Thamba take a bath? Well, Aiden, he doesn't have the luxury of having mom to run the bath for him, make sure the temperature is really nice, and so he has to clean himself, unfortunately, which means he's got to use his tongue. So he has a tongue that's very different from yours, Aiden. If you stick your tongue out and you touch it, you're going to feel that it's quite soft and squishy. Now, with his tongue, it is soft and squishy, but it's covered in little hairs that are like hooks, and it feels like sandpaper. I don't know if you know what sandpaper is, Aiden, but if you try and kind of make wood smooth, there's a paper that you use that is very, very rough, and that means that when he licks his coat, that those hooks and those hairs pull off all the dirt. So it gets rid of the sand, it gets rid of the dust, it gets rid of any parasites. And when we talk about parasites, we talk about insects that like to feed off his blood. So things like a tick, that would be a problem. Fleas, those kind of things, he's going to clean those off using his tongue, and that's how he baths himself, is by licking himself and using his tongue to wash all over the place. And where he can't reach with his tongue, he will wipe on his paw and make his paw wet, and then he wipes with his paw and then keeps doing that, and that's how he's able to clean behind his ears and on top of his head, which is a very difficult place to reach if you're a leopard. It's very funny to watch them, and hopefully we'll see him do it. Normally when leopards wake up and they start moving, so maybe if he's going to leave the termite mound, then you'll find that he'll start to do that grooming process, and he'll try and clean himself up before he starts to try and go looking for food or maybe a drink. Given how hot it's been today, I think he might decide to go looking for a bit of water at some point. But he's so beautiful in the grass, and you can see why it's difficult to spot these cats sometimes. In that area there is what you're looking at. Those spots just completely break up the outline and make it actually quite tough to see. So that's the view that we've got from sitting in the car, is if you didn't really look very hard, you would easily miss that spotted little face in amongst the grass, because, well, the bits of light and dark help camouflage this cat incredibly well. So, Lynn, you're asking a very interesting question, and one that has been discussed quite a bit. And so Lynn wants to know whether or not a leopard who has more than one cub, so if she has 2 or 3 cubs, can there be multiple fathers? So, Lynn, yes, they can be. There can be different parents for the litter mates. So you can have a situation, hypothetically, let's say Thamba did have a sibling, but let's say both of those siblings were born, and it could have been that Tingana mated with Thandi, and it could have been that Quarantine mated with Thandi, and then each one could have fertilized an egg, and then you had the 2 cubs being born, and they could have different fathers. And it's a very interesting topic at the moment, because we have a group of people in the area called Panthera. Now, Panthera is a global organization that is busy studying big cats all across the world, and they've got a study on at the moment about working out genetic DNA and trying to work out paternity and maternity of leopards. And so they've worked out through the studies of the dung that they get from all of these different leopards that there are multiple parents in the same litter. So it's a very interesting thing, and hypothetically there could be a situation where it's different fathers even though the 2 cubs were born at the same time. So quite an interesting way of things, and you sometimes see cubs that look a little bit different to each other. It's a weird thing when you get 2 that are born in the same litter and they seem a little different in appearance. They generally have something about their mother, but they sometimes have different ears or different eyes or different sort of shape, and then you can think to yourself, well, maybe there was a different male involved. And females ultimately do search out as many males as they can in their territory to try and cover any possibility or any eventuality as to what might happen going forward. You never know if one of the males are surrounding the dominant male where she is, comes in and pushes that dominant male out, and so she'll go out of her territory to mate with all the males around her to ensure that cub and the litter that she's about to have going forward, which is very, very clever thinking. The best exponent of it, I think, was probably Karula, well, from what I've seen. I once found Karula going into Singita Londolozi from that corner. Now, she was dominant around Djuma at the time, well, as she always was. And that is a very, very far sort of way to go. She went through Shadow's territory, then she went through Salahesh's territory, then she went through Moya's territory, and she was going into Ingrid Dam's territory eventually when we found her mating with then when Tingana was down that side of the world. And so it just goes to show how far she went, and ultimately it proved very successful because she mated with Tingana, had the cubs. Tingana subsequently was pushed by Anderson and ended up being dominant exactly where she was in the heart of her territory. So it's a very clever move from a leopardess to do that. And like I say, Karula was incredibly shrewd in the way that she used to go around all over the place to mate with all these fringe males so that she ensured that her cubs were safe no matter what happened, which is an incredible way to do things, and very, very interesting to know that the males see those cubs as potentially theirs because they pick up the scent of the female and associate that with mating that they've already had. But he's doing his very best impression to hide behind the grass. You can just see the ear moves every now and then when I talk, but otherwise he's really not too perturbed by anything. I think it's been a warm day, and so poor Thamba is probably a little on the hot side, and that's why he's just taking it easy. Stacey, you're wondering if there's any females in Djuma that Thamba is not related to. Of the females we see, no. So Tundi is obviously his mom, Shadow is his aunt, Not Barbara is his cousin. It's a bit difficult, that one, because actually Tingana could be the father, and therefore they share the same father but different mothers, so that's a bit of a conundrum to work out. Kuchava is his sister, and that's it. So maybe if we saw Ingrid Dam, young female, or Shadulu female as she's now known, that could be a different lineage to what Thamba is, but otherwise no, there's very few females around here that would be different. I know there should be Shaluva to the north and then also in Kanyeni to the far east, but the chance of him going in those areas is very seldom, and we certainly don't see those leopards very much anymore. Now that we don't go to Cheetah Plains, we don't see in Kanyeni at all, so we can't really count that as a Djuma leopard. But the females we do see on Djuma are all related. In fact, this whole group of individuals around Djuma at the moment is because of how successful Karula was. So we have a lineage that she's managed to spread, and that actually goes back way towards the end of to the beginning, when Safari was very successful, and she managed to carve out a lineage here for Karula, and then Karula obviously spread that on to Shadow and Tundi, and now Tundi and Shadow have spread that down, and we have these two young boys in the form of Hasana and Thamba, and then we've got Not Barbara, and obviously now Tundi's new cub, Kuchava's new cubs, should we get to see them at some point. I don't know how many there are, if there's 1, 2 or more, but it just goes to show that the whole area is populated with the offspring from those females. Now he is starting to yawn. Maybe he's going to start doing a bit of grooming and decide to start walking. It's often good when you see a cat yawning. It sometimes means that they might stand up and start to get going and decide that it's time to go on a little walkies. I hope so, because it would be nice to see Thamba going all about his business, especially down to a nice waterhole and have a drink facing the afternoon light. That would be a little bit of a sort of dream sighting. In this light especially, you can see how Goldie's looking. The sun is just getting to that perfect time and the perfect color for when you want to be following leopards around. Right, well, he's still sitting, he's still kind of taking his time, so we'll be patient. If he does start to get up, then obviously we will follow him, but while we wait for that, let's go back across to Noel, who I believe is still bumbling about, and hopefully she will have some success with his mother at some point. Well, I would imagine so. Thamba, although he's getting big now, he's starting to get massive. You can see that massive paw through the grass, and, well, our yawning didn't really develop into very much. He's just put his head down and is now trying to have a little bit of a nap. So he's a sleepy cat for now, and I would imagine that we're going to see a situation where he's going to probably sleep for most of the afternoon. I don't think he's going to get up to too much. It's still too warm. You might find he'll go down towards the dam again late in the evening. Now, I've got an issue with my radio, which I'm just trying to sort out quickly. I don't know why it's making so much noise, but my radio is beeping in my ear, which is never a fun experience. So we're going to try to sort that out quickly. Well, I don't know where my radio is that it's beeping at me. Is it right behind me? Am I leaning on it?
In your camera bag.
Ah, okay. So there it is. No wonder it's making lots of noise. There we go. Now it's out the way. It will stop beeping in my ear, and that will be far more comfortable for my ears itself. But I think that's what we're going to be left with for now. It's still, like I say, very warm considering, and the sun is still up, and while it is a nice time of the day for us as people, I think this leopard is still waiting for it to be a little bit cooler and darker before he decides to do too much. And ultimately there's not really much going on anymore. The impalas have disappeared, the baboons have gone, scrub hares have run away, and so I suppose it's time just to have a really good nap. Nonetheless, still nice just to be around him. Hello, boy. Look at that look. He's got very serious eyes, as James always says. He's such a serious cat. He's not like Wasano, who generally displays a much more sort of goofy side to him. Thamba always looks as though he's very all about business, even though he's not. He tends to interact with everything, but he always looks as though he's on some sort of mission, that he's busy staring and analyzing everything that's around him, and everything is all about business and not much play at this stage of the day. It's Saturday, Thamba. You must take it easy, buddy. I suppose he is taking it. Maybe he had a big Friday night. Who knows? Maybe Friday night was a heavy one. What do you think, Vildy? That's why he came home at 2 a.m. Yes, Vildy. He's been having a big holiday for the last 6 months. He had a gap year, as they call it, and he's went and had a big holiday, and now he got home at 2 a.m. and so he's feeling very sheepish and is now sleeping. That's what VM reckons. I think he might be onto something, VM. I think he might be... You think he's in trouble with Tundi at the moment?
Yeah.
You think so? I think so too. I think he's in trouble with Thandi at the moment as well, and maybe that's why she's not talking to him, and she decided, well, she's going to have another child because her other son, well, her only son at this stage, is being naughty and is doing his own thing. Of course, we're just talking absolute nonsense. It's not the case at all. She's probably pushed him away more than anything else, but it seems like a funny thing to think about. It would be nice if he stood up, because the light at the moment is just that good that if he... Oh, there we go. Now, Thamba, where are you going to go? Are you going to lie on that side? He's very obliging. Yes, Kirsty is a wonderful individual because he is so obliging with these kind of things. VM, do you want your sunset leopard shot? Yes. You do? Yes, well, now's the time, VM. Let's do it. Let's try and get you your sunset leopard shot. Hopefully he will be as obliging as he now was when he stood up like that, and that he'll stay there for VM, because VM loves a good sunset leopard shot. When was the last time you got a sunset leopard shot, VM? Was it with Tingana in the tree with James all those months ago before the Mara? Every so often, okay. Well, hopefully this will be a winning one. Let's try and have a little look, VM. It's the best thing about being with VM on drive is that he loves leopards as much as I do, and so he's quite happy for me to drive around looking for leopards all day, every day, and thoroughly enjoys when we do. Oh no, Thamba. It would have been so good. He was standing in the perfect place with the sun right behind him. It would have been absolutely perfect, but he's now decided it's time to move. So, well, are you going to sit there now? Okay. Well, we'll come and get you around. But it was perfect. The sun was lying right behind where he was standing, and he just moved as we kind of lined up the shot. Sorry, Bildy. It took too long to get there. Let's get across and around, because we're not going to get much of the sun behind him. Let's rather get the sun on him, because that will be quite pretty as well. And he's lying in a much better spot now for VM to film him with this nice sunshine. There we go. Hello, boy. So the sun's he's almost got some nice shade there. It's just his head that's poking out, and he's looking to the north of us. I wonder if maybe there's not another wave of impalas coming down this way or something that he's interested in, because he kind of looked this way and then positioned himself, and he keeps staring towards the north. So I wonder if maybe just something is moving around behind us. There could obviously be duiker, steenbok, scrub hares, warthogs. There's a number of different things that utilize this area. We're just north of the dam, so we're about, I would say, 600 meters north of the dam, 700 meters, so it's not too far. Lots of things come down for a drink. So first, lady, you're going to bring up something that everybody thinks about, but I don't think really anyone really talks about it. But you want to know whether I think he's got Mvula's eyes. Well, yes. So VM and I were actually just having this conversation right now that we think Thamba looks very much like Mvula. He's got those same big ears, light-colored eyes. And so I wonder, was it Mvula or was it Quarantine that sneakily mated with Thandi without anybody knowing? And everybody's kind of given Tingana the credit, but maybe, just maybe, it was one of the others that carried that gene and kind of gave it to Thamba, because he certainly looks like all the offspring that Mvula produced with Thandi, and remember that Quarantine looks very much like Mvula as well, and in all probability Mvula was the father of Quarantine. So it's an interesting thing. I think that maybe Quarantine or Mvula maybe sneaked in there when no one was watching and has produced the sort of illegitimate child that is Thamba. But we are not sad about that at all, because, well, he is an absolutely beautiful specimen and really is one of the best looking leopards, like I say, that I've seen in my time, and many other people agree with me. So whoever it was, they certainly did a... Well, Thamba is on the move, and just look at how pretty this cat is. Are you going to come right past us, Thamba? Yes, you're going to just come right in front of the vehicle, because, well, that's what he likes to do. And you've seen Thamba do this time and time again, as well as Fasana. The two boys are very at home with vehicles. So you can see he's just sort of meandering now down towards the sun, and how pretty is that, with the sun sort of setting, Thamba moving along. Now we're going to stay with him for a little bit. We're probably going to extend the show just a little bit, just to see where he goes. There's nothing around that he's hunting, and there's no real reason that we're extending, other than the fact that, well, we haven't seen Thamba in so long, and the fact that he's moving now is worthwhile just to follow him and just see where he goes. I don't know how long we're even going to be able to keep him. He's going into very thick areas, but we're going to try nonetheless, and we're going to try and see what our little boy gets up to as he walks walks into the nice golden light. It's very, very pretty out here, that's for sure. It's that perfect time of the day where the grass is that bright green and then there's this gold light filtering through it, and it just makes for an incredibly good view of things. Wildy, I'm going to go around the other way because there's lots of stumps here. So we're just going to reverse back quickly. Let's go this way. So Joy, none of us have seen him on Djuma, but I think he was seen by some of the guys on EP, Thamba Male Leopard, some of the guys in the West. I think he was seen, was it yesterday or the day before? Maybe the day before. He certainly was seen recently though. It wasn't too long ago, but he's still looking very thin, very ropey at the moment, unfortunately, which is not ideal. I did hear that he got a bit of a wildebeest at one point, and fed on that until the wild dogs came along and stole it from him, which is not ideal. But he did get some semblance of food there. I don't know how much of it, but he did get a little bit. Right, there we go. Look at how beautiful that is. There's that golden light just kind of highlighting his coat, sun setting in the background, leopard walking through the summer bush. It doesn't get any better than that. I can tell you that is the best way to spend a Saturday afternoon in my world, and hopefully in all of yours, because if you're watching, then you would absolutely be loving this too, because there is very few things as pretty as a spotty cat walking into the sunset, as far as I'm concerned. Right. Should we try and keep up with him then? Because we're going to lose him fairly quickly if we don't. It gets incredibly thick here. We're going north now in this drainage line that runs north of Djuma camp. So the camp is just to our left here. It's not very far at all. And it gets dense in here, and there's a big dip that you go through. And following through there is probably going to be impossible. So we're going to follow him as long as we can, see where he goes. But I don't know if we're going to be able to get it all the way through with him. At least we know where he's going. I'm interested, though, that he's heading slightly north, because north is into Buffelshoek, and I don't think little Thamba has been into Buffelshoek yet in his life. I think this is all sort of foreign ground. Maybe not this area that he's in now. He's been here for sure, but north of us, I don't think he spent too much time. But we can be very thankful that we found him where we did, because if he had gone further into this block, with the amount of grass and the hardness of the ground here, we wouldn't have found him. It would have been very difficult to track him any further than we did. So we are Ovium a apple juice tonight for a good spot on the mound as I was walking along. And like I say, it was Vium that actually spotted it and not me. I was walking in that area and then Vium spotted his bum. Oh, is that where you're going to lie down and roll around? Let's just catch up with him quickly, because he's rolling around. Maybe there's some dung there that he's found that he's going to roll in. Kim, you're wondering if Thamba's nose can get a sunburn. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure he looks after his nose as best he can and makes sure that he stays out of the harsh sun like a good boy. And his nose is very pink, so even if he did get a sunburn, I don't think we would even know. Oh, he is such a beautiful cat. Hello, boy. Look at the size of those feet. Your feet are very big for your age. He's going to be a big lad later in life. He's certainly got massive feet for a 1.5-year-old cat. He's just over a 1.5 years now, in fact basically a 1.5 years, and so he's got a long way to go before he becomes a big dominant male at 6-7 years old, and you can imagine what bulk he's going to have at that stage. Interestingly enough though, everybody always asks about Thamba and Hosana and whether who's bigger and what's the story with the two of them. Well, now that I've seen Thamba again after quite some time and seeing quite a bit of Hosana recently, Hosana is definitely bigger now. He's got a lot more bulk than Thamba's got at the moment. His neck area is bigger than what Thamba is, but Thamba's not far behind, and given the age difference, they're very similar in the way that they're going to be built. I think both of them are going to be impressive individuals later in life, and both are going to present a very, very pretty picture to wherever they go and present a dominant force, hopefully, in any area that they end up being dominant. But it seems as though he's found himself a place to rest. I don't think he's going to move too much from here, although he's just sitting and looking around. Now, Kirsty, you want to know if he's got a wound in his stomach. He does have a little wound there, doesn't he? Oh, I wonder what happened to him. It's healed up quite a bit. You can see there's some granulation of the tissue. Now, I'm not talking about the granules of sand. Those are not part Those are not part of the sort of granulation that I'm talking about, but you can see that pinkish tissue that's closing up there. So he does have a bit of a wound. Maybe that's why he's up here. Maybe somebody chased him out from Mala side or a net side, and he's now gotten up in this area. It's an interesting kind of wound, though. It doesn't really look like a bite mark. It looks more like a little sort of stump, or maybe, I don't know, antelope horn or something that maybe nicked him there. Difficult to say without really knowing, but he's definitely got a little sort of wound on his tummy, but that will all heal up eventually. Right, well, unfortunately, I don't think he's going to do too much more, so we've extended a little bit just to see what he got up to, but I think he's going to sleep and spend most of his time here, so it's going to be the end of the sunset safari for all of us. It's been an absolutely wonderful Saturday by the sounds of things. We've had high action with the sisters and lots of chasing around. There's been lions in the Mara, all kinds of things happening all over the place, and well, for me, the best